Hey, good morning. Scott Luton and Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to the Supply Chain Buzz, our regular Monday live stream, 12 noon Eastern time. Greg, how you doing?
I am doing well. I'm glad to get my buzz on.
Every Monday, 12 noon, like clockwork, right?
Yeah, right. If only it were an actual buzz,
Right.
but
We'll save that for
that would make
Tuesday.
this show a lot harder for us to do.
That's true. All right. So it is the Supply Chain Buzz,
Yeah.
where we share some of the leading stories across global business every Monday, 12 noon Eastern time. And today, Greg, just in case you didn't know, we got a special guest joining us around 12:25 p.m. Eastern time. The one and only Fergal Glenn with Six River Systems, which is a company doing big things in industry. He's going to be here with us. Greg, one heck of a guest, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. They are managing the robot takeover of the world.
Led by Chuck, right?
That's
An
right.
army of Chuck.
No, I mean, I think what they're doing is cool. Robotics, automation, autonomous, all going to be huge part of the landscape of supply chain going forward. We say this all the time, Scott. We had 2 million unfilled jobs in supply chain in 2019 before anyone knew what supply chain was. And now that gap is even broader. So it's important that we embrace and do so appropriately. And we're going to talk about how to do that as well. The increase in automation and autonomous and robotics.
Agreed. We're going to be talking automation, all that stuff Greg just mentioned, and workforce and how all that wires together and creates opportunities for all. So buckle up and get ready. And hey, we want to hear from you too. So we're going to say hello to a few folks in the comments, and we'd love to hear your take on what you hear as we work our way through the conversation. Hey, Greg.
Yes, Scott.
Programming note though, before we get started and before we say hello to some folks, let's talk about our 2022 Supply Chain and Procurement Awards because nominations are open, Greg, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a global awards ceremony where we want companies from around the world. Hey, we're willing to take interstellar nominations as well, but feel like communication could be a difficulty. But yeah, nominate those companies, whether they're practitioners or service providers or people that are doing great things in supply chain. Check out all the categories of awards that we have on the website, Supply Chain Procurement Awards.com.
That's right.
And make sure that the people doing the best in the industry are getting recognized around the world. It's kind of weird, isn't it, Scott?
It is weird. But you know what's really cool about it? Folks, as Greg said, nominate, right? We've had some recent entries from Packard, our friends over at Packard, Fulfilled, Longbow Advantage. We've had Rose Martin with Wintech nominated for the Unsung Hero Award. It's organizations, enterprises, individuals, practitioners, you name it. And the great thing is a $200 is a nomination, $200 nomination fee, and all that gets donated to our friends at the nonprofit Hope for Justice, which is leading the fight at eradicating modern slavery and human trafficking. So learn more at supplychainprocurementawards.com. Greg, excited. Coming up on May 18th, right?
Yeah, and 100% of your nomination fee going to a good cause.
That's right.
So I think it's great, Scott, the way that you and Kelly have constructed this thing to be giving in every single facet. So
agreed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know, we used to do the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards, right? You did it for a number of years, even before. And we just decided to broaden that to give a world perspective because we have such an incredible world audience. So I think it's going to be interesting to see not just who gets nominated, but where they come from.
Right. The best, Jerry.
There's supply chain excellence all over the world.
Agreed.
Let's celebrate that.
Absolutely. It's so important. And celebrate it while contributing towards one of the issues of our time. One last thought about that. We did do the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards for a couple of years. And we heard, we during those years, we restricted it to companies that had operations in the Metro Atlanta area. And we heard so much from folks around the globe. Hey, are we eligible? And we had to tell them no. Well, I got tired of telling people no. So it is global. And wherever you are, no matter how big, how small, you name it, interstellar, I don't care. You're all eligible and join us to celebrate not only the successes you're having, but to celebrate, to donate and fuel a great cause. Okay.
Amen.
SupplyChainProcurementAwards.com. Let's say hello to a few folks. Speaking of the best ecosystem
No kidding.
in the entire world, Josh Goody is tuned in from beautiful, rainy Seattle. Happy Monday and last day of February to you all. Josh, I'm hoping you're bringing it again today. Greg, he's been with us some prior live streams, right?
Yeah. I mean, like so many people, Josh brings some great insights to these things. It's great having people interact with this.
That's the best. It is the best. Kavan is tuned in as always. The new abnormal, something he coined long before we heard that put out there. Kavan, hope this finds you well. Max Gomez from Mexico is tuned back in via LinkedIn. Great to see you, Max. EUL, perhaps. And if I got that wrong, I apologize. Tuned in from Ethiopia. So great to see you here via LinkedIn. Love to get your comments as we work our way EUL throughout the conversation here today. We've got the Royal Ambassador of the Charleston supply chain ecosystem, Sylvia Judy. Great to see you, Sylvia.
Yeah, right. Always good to have a finger on the pulse of the big ports on the East Coast, and that Sylvia is in touch with that. Also keeping us in touch with Germany, right?
That's right. I think I saw some recent photos related to a recent visit of hers, but maybe she'll share. Sylvia, and great to have you here regardless. Lamont Hardy from San Diego, right, Greg?
Yeah. So Lamont was active this weekend. I think I saw a few posts from him and some comments on some things this weekend. I mean, it's amazing. You don't think of everybody being kind of active all the time, but just like supply chainers never stop, right?
Never stop. Lamont, great to have you here today. Eddie's tuned in from Memphis, Tennessee. Love that, Eddie. Look forward to your perspective. Peter's tuned in from Kenya via LinkedIn. Great to see you, Peter. David holding down the fort up in Canada. David, hope this finds you well. Great to see you here today. Tim Perkins.
Love to get an update on that beard, David. Oh. That picture, that's a few months old now, I think. So I'd love to see if he's growing that out or if he's shaping that up. So maybe you could just share that in the feed.
We need the beard update, David. That's a good call out there. Tim Perkins. Hey, Peter Boley, all night and all day, is back with us here. Peter, hope this finds you well. Let's see here. Chris is tuned in from Reston, Virginia. Ever been to Reston, Virginia, Greg?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know that. I've been to a lot of places in Virginia and through a lot of places in Virginia. So,
well, you're going to have to let us
know.
Where
is
Chris.
Reston?
Right.
In Virginia.
You're going to have to let us know where that is. Erwin.
The name sounds really familiar, but I just don't know. Is it okay if I look it up on a map, Scott?
Please, yeah. Do that as I'm saying hello to a few other folks here before we dive in. Erwin from Jakarta. Great to see you, Erwin. Let's see. Peter's giving us a weather update. 14 degrees Celsius up in Montreal today.
Minus. I think that's a minus 14 Celsius. Is it?
Minus? Luke, let's see here. Luke Small is with us here, and I can't find his comment here, but Luke, great to have you here. Hope this finds you well. Rowett is.
We're getting close. We're getting close. No, we're getting close to my favorite holiday.
Okay,
and probably Luke's favorite holiday,
right?
St. Patrick's Day.
That's right.
You Irishman.
Right around the corner.
Reston, west of Washington. Oh, I know why. I remember the name. Yeah.
And hello, Brad Reeves from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hello to everyone else that we couldn't get to. We look forward to having you all here as we work through a couple of stories, a couple of updates, and of course, Fergal Glenn's joining us from Six River Systems around 12:25 p.m. Eastern time. If that's the case, Greg, we got to get cracking. You ready?
Yeah, let's do this. I suppose we ought to get to work, right?
I think so.
That's what these people ultimately, I think these people are here to get some information.
I agree with you. Now, before we start talking supply chain, though, want to point this out. It's a tough time going back, 10 days now or so in the midst of this global conflict that is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But the good news there, Greg, and if you look hard, you can find that good news. It's really been a beautiful thing to see the world come together and in support of the Ukrainian people. And so I just grabbed a couple of images I saw over the weekend that I love from the Arch there in St. Louis to that is the Peace Tower in Ottawa, a new landmark for me. We have the Space Needle in Seattle, of course, Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, you name it. We had really the world coming together. And, my favorite thing that I saw, Greg, I think favorite without a doubt over the weekend, and that's to see the brave Russian people speak out against Putin's invasion from Moscow to Siberia to St. Petersburg. Arrests of protesters were made in 51 cities across Russia, according to the AP. I love that they're finding their voice and they're uniting with the world against the aggression that we've seen.
I studied, not everybody probably does, but I studied Soviet politics during the Cold War. Putin is a particularly ruthless and deadly leader.
Right.
Those people may never be seen again, and they know it when they hit the street. So it takes an exceptional amount of courage to do what those people are doing in Russia, because they know there is a very good chance that if they are abducted, they will never be seen, never be freed. So I think that's exceptional. Obviously, I think the leader, Zelensky of Ukraine, though he's on the border now of Belarus and Ukraine,
right,
negotiating with the Russians in what is effectively a war zone with a country that allowed Russian troops to cross their territory to get to Kiev faster. Man, the guts of that guy and those people to stand and fight it's inspiring. It's impressive. And frankly, it's absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary.
Excellent perspective there. I'm with you. So our prayers, thoughts, best wishes, and support. There's lots of sites out there. Y'all can go Googling where you can donate to the effort. We found a couple this weekend. So wanted to start there because, it's truly, with few exceptions, glaring exceptions, but it is what it is. It's brought the world together, and we certainly need that at a time like this. So, all right. So setting that aside, and I want to say hello to Jason T. Hopkins is back. Jason dropped a T-shirt-ism last week on the live stream. Old TV is back with us. Tom Valentine, the one and only. Good Monday afternoon to you as well. T-Squared holds down the fort, ready for Monday nourishment. Getting ready for the Cookie a Puss ice cream cakes for St. Patrick's Day. How about that?
Okay. Carvel is new to Georgia, relatively new to Georgia. So I'm not that familiar with Carvel and their ice cream traditions. I'm pretty familiar with their burgers, which are pretty tasty.
We got to see pictures, T-Squared. Pictures, my friend. And finally, hey, Gary Harper, old friend, is back with us. I want to say we sat down with Gary in Charleston, what feels like forever ago, but it's probably about 2 years ago, Greg, if you remember.
Yeah, of course. It was 2019, correct?
Agreed.
Yeah, well, and we may be heading back there. Oh, there's a teaser for them. Scott. We may be heading back to South Carolina to talk global commerce, global international affairs, and global supply chain. So,
well, that is a perfect segue. Because, of course, global supply chain, right? That's where we're starting. That's where folks are tuned in here. So TPM 2022 is taking place right this minute, Greg. Well, might be a little bit early. I'm not sure what time they get started. I bet they're already cracking though. Long Beach, California.
Making TikTok videos right now.
That and lots of deals, right? Lots of deals, especially those critical year-long freight contracts. So get this, Greg. Speaking of ocean freight, according to the Wall Street Journal and Freightos, the average price for the 40-foot container move from China to the U.S. is between $7,000 and $8,000 right now. Last year, it was about $5,500, and that's if you book in advance. Now, the spot prices to move a container from Shanghai to the U.S. around $16,000 right now. Last year, that was $4,700. So, Greg, your thoughts on the pricey? If you want to ship something, be prepared to pay the price.
Well, and many companies have paid the price, obviously, because we look at the backup in the ports. And think about this also, not just the cost of the container, but the cost of rerouting, which a lot of companies are having to do because the West Coast ports are clogged up, and now some of the Gulf Coast ports are clogged up, and now, as we've talked about, some of the East Coast ports are clogged up. I mean, the ones in New York and New Jersey are always inefficient, but that's starting to move south and impact some of the ports like Charleston and Savannah and Jacksonville as well. So I don't know that people understand that is an additional cost as well. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, and the rates were up last year over what they had been before. And this doesn't even address, I mean, this does identify that rates are up incredibly, but it doesn't address the extreme cases like $25,000 or $30,000 containers, which can occur based, again, on how subject, let's say, to the spot market you are. So,
we're in the wrong business. We should have been in that container shipping, ocean freight business, Greg, I tell you. But you make great points because these aren't set in stone. They fluctuate quite a bit. But there'll be a lot of deal making going on with all of our friends out there at TPM this week. And I've heard a lot of great feedback. Our friend of the many hundreds and if not thousands of people out there, Kathy Morrow Robertson, Greg, who's a great follow on Twitter. She's offering up summaries each and every day. So y'all check that out. Here's Luke Small. Luke Small tuned in from a very wet Seattle. I thought I saw Luke somewhere. Luke, great to have you here.
When you say very in front of wet Seattle, I mean, you don't even need to say wet Seattle, right? But when you say very, I wonder what that must be like. Actually, I used to know. I used to work up in that area of the country quite a bit. Oh, I mean, when it stops raining, I got to tell you, everything is so green. And when the sun hits it, it's amazingly beautiful because it just rains all the time. Well, and you get used to doing things like mowing your lawn during a misting rain, because if you didn't, as I was advised, you would never mow your lawn.
Wow. Well, Luke, let us know, and we want to see some pictures. But Luke, all things
very mean, right?
Right. Luke loves talking digital transformation. Of course, that will be the backdrop of our conversation with Fergal Glenn with Six River Systems here momentarily. He'll be joining us in about a little less than 10 minutes. Hey, Gene Pledger is tuned in. Great to see you, Gene, as always. Peter Bollet is talking about the 12K to 23K in the span of 4 months, the spot market. Holy cow, wow. Peter. Dr. Rhonda is back with us. She's running late. That's okay. Rhonda, you have full permission. We don't need to see
probably literally running late, Scott. Literally running, right?
And Gary's confirming our memory. It was 2019 we sat down with Gary in Charleston. He's with Zebra now. So good to see you, Gary. All right. So I want to bring up, so Rowett asked a great question, and it's stemmed from one of your updates that he has seen, Greg, and we need to educate our ecosystem because this is new to me. I knew you were on a cadence. I didn't know what cadence, but you're dropping this thought-provoking supply chain commentary every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, that's right. I do a post, usually find an article, do a little summary or commentary on the article, and drop it on LinkedIn and Twitter. LinkedIn, Twitter, and I think also Facebook.
Yes.
I can't remember if I'm still doing Facebook. Am I?
I'll check with the team. We'll see. But what you can hang your hat on, and folks, I've been working with Greg White a long time. And what I've always loved about Greg White is not only beyond his brilliance, which I'm partial, but it's true. He tells it like it is. And man, these posts, this commentary is full of not only insights you need to know, but the t-shirt isms, right? Which Fergal is going to bring by the truckload here in a minute. But Greg, one in particular, here a minute ago, I think this was from last week. You were talking about some of the peak season challenges that iRobot has had. Of course, they weren't unique to iRobot, but tell us, give us a little tease of what you were talking about here, and then we'll make sure folks know where to find it.
Yeah, so I think the important, if I can distill it down, the important thing to understand is that 67% of iRobot's demand happens from October to December. So they are effectively a toy. They're not, of course. It's a good cleaning device, but it's a big time Christmas gift. So a lot of their demand occurs that time of year, and they missed the season. And they just got their product in after having unfulfilled orders. And what that made me think of was some of the companies that are planning very, very far ahead. Not only a season, but sometimes a year and a season ahead. And also, they're evaluating their supply chain, that if they're going to miss a season, they might just skip a season. My daughter just bought a car, and she was looking for a 2021 Acura. There weren't any, because Acura at some point in the model year 2021 stopped making cars, retooled for their 2022s, and just went to the 2022s, and they were therefore available to provide the 2022s actually early. And it made me think what a brilliant strategy that could be, because you avoid the whiplash effect. Now,
Right.
iRobot has all these Roombas that they're going to sit on till fourth quarter of this year, a good portion of them, because they just got them, and almost 70% of their demand occurs in the fourth quarter. So they're going to be selling year-old iRobots, or they're going to be promoting the heck out of them to get them out before the next season. So if you can assess the risk as equally as great that you'll miss the season as make the season, skip the season, and start over ahead one season. Just, the genius that you would expect from one of the premier Japanese car brands and other brands that have done the same thing. But it just struck me how smart it is to do that.
Well, your commentary strikes me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Team, if we can, a big thanks to Chantel, Amanda, and Catherine behind the scenes making production happen today. If we can drop a link to this iRobot commentary from Greg in the chat, folks, we'd invite you to engage there. Of course, you need to connect and follow Greg so you can engage in those thought-provoking conversations every week, and we'd welcome that. But Greg,
and if you like, sorry,
please.
Scott. If you like the article, click on the article. It's all, my commentary is in LinkedIn or in the respective social media, but the article is also linked. If you click on the article, you'll go to my paper. You can subscribe there. I will get better about dropping the link in so you can subscribe right from my commentary.
Yes, we're not sitting on our hands around here at Supply Chain Now.
Darn
But hey,
Skippy.
one final thought here, and we're going to be bringing in Fergal in just 1 second. I hope that Major League Baseball does not take a page from, I think it was Audi, and skipping a season. We cannot skip seasons around here, folks. Owners, players, folks. We've been through a pandemic. We're facing this global conflict right now. It's silly. Y'all get down, make a deal happen.
Amen.
Take a page from the folks out at TPM that's making deals happen left and right. Y'all
take me out to the ball game.
Yeah,
that's what we need to think about.
That's right. That is right.
We're going to need some. We're going to need some entertainment.
No kidding.
Right?
Departure.
Yeah.
Protect the psyche. Okay. Yeah. So, Greg, I'll tell you, that was kind of a whirlwind front end of the Supply Chain Buzz here at Supply Chain Now. We've got an outstanding guest, and we've enjoyed rubbing elbows with the great folks over at Six River Systems going back a couple of years now. They've been really, it's a heartbeat of the automation and really making fulfillment happen better, easier, more enhanced, optimizing it. We're going to learn a lot more here today. I want to welcome in our featured guest, Fergal Glenn, Vice President of Marketing at Six River Systems. Hey, Fergal, how you doing, sir?
Hi, Scott. Hi, Greg. It's nice to be here.
Hey, welcome aboard.
It is so great to have you back. I think the last time we connected was part of the ever popular Flow event y'all do each year.
Right.
We had a chance to sit down with Mike Rowe as part of which one of the things you are doing at Flow. So great to have you back.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to be here.
You bet. Now, Greg, we've got this incredible senior leader related to a company on the move, but you know where we're starting our conversation with Fergal, right?
No,
Food.
Tell me, Scott.
Food. We love talking food. And now, before we get into automation,
where else would we start?
We love food around here. And folks in the cheap seats, the skyboxes, as it were, love talking food too. So, Fergal, you make your home in the Boston area. And Boston, of course, is known for many things, to include great cuisine. What's one of your favorite go-tos in Boston for dining?
My favorite restaurant, and it's a Boston-founded and headquartered restaurant chain. It's called Legal Seafoods. And Unfortunately, just this weekend, the founder of Legal Seafoods, Roger Berkowitz, he passed away, aged 94.
Wow.
94.
94. But Legal Seafoods,
It's a place to go.
place. Yeah.
Well,
It's a
if I heard
shame
you
we lost
correctly,
him, but it just goes to show what a great diet a seafood diet is.
yeah, 94. What a wow,
Right.
full life. And if I
Yeah.
heard you correctly, Fergal, I think Greg's been to the original in Boston. We haven't been to Boston yet. It's on our priority list. But are there locations around the country as well?
Yeah, and in fact, oftentimes in airports around the
Right.
country, I see them. I think the flight maybe in the morning is bringing a lobster down to Orlando or Miami, and you can go and get it to go at the airport.
I love it, and I love how they
I
make
didn't
that
even
math
think
work,
about
Greg.
that. Yeah, they have one of my favorites, because a company I worked for called Servigistics, their founder was from Boston. The spicy fish nuggets, kind of. Have you had that, Fergal? It's outstanding.
I think I've had everything on the menu. Yeah.
Me too.
All right,
Me
so
too.
folks,
I used to die for a layover in certain airports so I could go and have some clam chowder or something.
well, so
Well,
I want to circle
my favorite
back.
sauce is the pink sauce, not the spicy, but the pink, the
Yeah.
mix of, I think it's ketchup and mayo.
Yeah.
Okay, you're selling. I'm sold
Sorry,
on all
Scott.
of that.
I know you're hungry.
I'm starving now, folks. In the comments, if y'all have been to Legal Seafood, drop a link, drop a comment in there, and let us know your favorite thing on the menu. As Fergal said, he likes everything. He's had about everything, but let us know about Legal Seafood. Okay, so Greg and Fergal, are y'all ready to get down to business?
I guess we got to get to work, Fergal.
Yes.
We got to. I want to bring up this story that hit our radar from our friends over at Harvard Business Review. And folks, if HBR is not on your radar, make sure it is. A lot of great thought-provoking content, just like Greg over at HBR.
Maybe a little bit more educated than me.
Maybe just a smidge.
Just a little.
But this piece here focuses on research on how the human workforce views automation. Now, I want to add a little context, and then I'm going to come to you, Fergal, get your take on this, then Greg, get your commentary. But
Sure.
for a little context here, the global warehouse automation market was worth about $15 billion in 2019. Greg, Fergal, that number is expected to climb to some $30 billion by 2026. Man, those are big numbers. The authors behind this research spoke at length with about 80 members of the warehouse industry across the globe, but mainly focused on frontline workers and supervisors. So with that backdrop, Fergal, talk to us about what you gathered from this research.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I thought this was such a great piece, and it's great hearing it from the associates on the concrete floor in the warehouse. So it's a completely different perspective than like what we commonly read and hear about, which may be from, say, the director or the VP level who's managing buildings. And kind of what caught me, and just was like throughout the pandemic, the labor shortage combined with an increase in particularly e-commerce order demand has just encouraged many warehouses to not only just investigate, but to very quickly go and implement robotic automation. And this type of automation, robotic, flexible automation, it is possible to go and to deploy it like really, really fast in a matter of weeks or days. And kind of then like tying back to the report itself, like there is a common misconception that when implementing automation, that like this automation or these robots can take jobs away from employees. But like the fact is, like, we have both in like both sides of the Atlantic where this study took place.
Right.
We have a massive labor challenge, and automation, particularly mobile robots working alongside the associates in the warehouse, it can actually like improve the quality of working life by easing the strain of manual labor, by reducing the walking that an associate needs to do within the warehouse to do their job.
Yep.
And then we're seeing as well firsthand that mobile robotics are helpful to companies to help them actually attract, train, and retain their labor force.
Yes. And oftentimes give those hirees a better paying job where they're actually adding credentials to their knowledge set and what have you. So if I can, so these points you're making, Greg, you may have opined once or twice very passionately about this stuff because there's not nearly as many folks that want to take some of the jobs, which is leading to the reason we must have more automation in our fulfillment centers and warehouses. Greg, speak to that for a second.
Yeah, it's inevitable at this point. I mean, 3.6 million more people 55 and over retired last year than we expected to, and they continue to consider it at a higher rate. Continue to consider leaving the workforce at a higher rate than any other age group. So that's basically the baby boomers are leaving, and those are the people who have done these jobs traditionally. I've long said that we need no longer apologize for putting automation into these jobs because nobody wants them, and frankly, the incoming generations, nobody is an overstatement, but very few people want them, as is evidenced by many articles and discussions we've had, a la manufacturing and warehouse job gaps.
Yep.
But the incoming generations are unlikely to take a job unless it ties somehow to technology. So either working over the top of technology or working with and in collaboration with technology. That's what the incoming Gen Z and millennials are really interested in. So I think, honestly, I really think the number that you gave, I think that might be a bit conservative.
Yeah. So
because of the pace of change towards e-commerce. Scott, I just recently adopted use of Instacart, which you've loved for over a year, maybe 2, I don't even know. And I just saw how impactful that was. But I also because e-commerce has gotten big in other areas we never expected.
Right.
That there's just not enough people to do the job, to do it effectively enough. And, one of the things that this Harvard Business Review article speaks to is safety in the workplace. And people don't like the 3 Ds of supply chain: dark, dirty, and dangerous, and particularly not the dangerous. So as the perception of technology or of supply chain becomes more technology and intellectual based and less brute force and dirty hands and elbows based, I think you'll see this accelerate.
Agreed. I want to back up and Fergal. I'd love to get any other takes you have around this piece of research. But on the front end of Greg's response, he talked about the notion of cobots, right? And I know that's a big part of the appeal with Chuck and Six River Systems. Kind of going to the earlier point you were talking about, Fergal. So anything else before we get into what you are doing, some of the cool things you are doing at Six River?
I suppose just adding on to safety. So I mentioned it reduces the physical effort, both in terms of the walking and pushing something heavy, that being like a traditional big manual cart. And so the robotic automation removes that. The other very topical feature of these systems is when you think about a world in a pandemic and with a virus, that when you implement automation, first of all, you can have more throughput through your building with the same number of people, or you can meet your existing throughput level with less people. So automation means you can get more done with less people. Now, when you think about the world in a pandemic, that's a good thing. Because you need less people in the building, but also built into these collaborative mobile robot solutions, there's a certain base level of social distancing already built in. Right. So with the algorithms that are used to create a pick path, it's possible to alter certain levers so that you can keep your associates out of an aisle that already has an associate, or
Right.
you can keep associates in certain zones or certain parts of the building, so that at least out on the warehouse floor, you're able to keep your people at a safe distance.
Love that. And what we've learned, one of the great things, silver linings about the last couple of years, is how the employee experience to include safety has reemerged as a top priority for organizations, as it should be. So Fergal, love how you're speaking to some of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring a couple comments in from the cheap seats here, Amanda and Catherine and Chantel. If we can make sure we drop that Harvard Business Review article in the comments, so folks can check that out and give us their take on that. Kavan, good stuff here. He says robotics and automation for warehouses and plants reduce the release time of an order that will finally reach a customer's hands. The workforce in these areas should focus on maintenance and quality control and monitoring aspects. However, complete crew removal may not be achievable for non-standard personalized products. Let's see. Lamont says Walmart and Amazon are already leading in that direction, talking about some of the robotics things that they're play it there. Fergal, but you're speaking to your last part of your response there was focused on some of the customizable, making up words here, aspects of Chuck and Six River System Solution, right?
That's right, and like I love that comment that was just on the screen, and maybe just to touch on that a bit more. Two points on that. Like one is in terms of the promise or the service level of agreements that we have to our customer. With these types of systems, you're able to have like a guaranteed service level. And so and how that works is, for example, if you know there's a certain order that needs to be on the truck that departs at 4 p.m. today, and now it's 12 minutes past 3, well, the system can automatically make sure that the next pick that occurs in the building is that order that needs to get out the door, because the robot will travel to where that pick needs to take place. And so we're getting this guaranteed service level. And then the other point I want to touch on in the comment is around, there's this thing known as the automation paradox. And so the automation paradox tells us that the more automation or the more heavily automated a building or a function becomes, the more valuable the people who are supporting it are. And so I love in the comment that it talks about the workforce is actually able to focus on the maintenance, quality control, monitoring aspects. And it goes right back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, that automation is actually able to increase the value of the jobs of the people who are working in the warehouse.
Agreed. I got a couple of comments I'm going to share, but first, Greg, I got to circle back to you. And you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it has almost never been the case that automation has eliminated people's jobs. It has more, to Fergal's point, elevated people's jobs. I mean, had John Henry not fought so hard against the steam engine, he could very well have been running a steam engine rather than pounding spikes into the rails himself. So, and I think that's often the case, is you see the elevation of humans to do human things where machines do machine things. I mean, if you think about the work that people don't want today, and they will want even less in the future, it's repetitive, it's dangerous, right? It's mundane. Those things and more, of course, can be done by automation, which elevates humans to do the exceptional, the quick thinking, the rapid, creative, and things that are not supported by data, because it takes data to run these machines. I hearken back to I did a lot of work in Norway at a time, and all of their liquor, wine, and spirits is all run by the state, but 4PL companies, they had a completely lights out warehouse except for single bottle packing. So they could take pallets, they could take cases, they could take, all sorts of things and do it without a human being involved at all, except for identifying what gets picked and shipped to elsewhere. But when it came down to the most delicate, the most costly, the most important things that needed to be handled, that always fell to a human. And I think that will often be the case.
All right. So on that note, I'm going to take a couple of quick comments here, and then Fergal, I want to make sure folks know they probably already know. There's maybe two people across the world maybe don't know what Six River Systems does. We're going to go there next, but really first, David's part of the welcoming committee. He's officially welcoming Fergal to the live stream. I love that, David. Michael, going back to seafood, right? I'm not going to forget about the seafood.
I remember that legal seafood in Atlanta. Yeah. I used to go to the airport early for afternoon flights so I could eat there.
Michael, man, I missed it, but thank you for sharing. Gary, big fan, legal seafood in Boston and the airports. Peter's dropping in their URL. I love that. Josh says, second best clam chowder he's ever had behind, is it Ivar's? Ivar's? Fergal, have you ever had Ivar's clam chowder?
Not yet, but I'm going to go check it out.
Okay. All right. So putting food aside for the moment, Michael also says robotic arms also reduce the size of facilities and allow companies to repurpose older warehouses closer to city populations. And we all know what's going on with urban fulfillment these days. Jason Hopkins is back with us. Jason had a t-shirtism last week, I believe I saw. Great insights. Human and machine interoperability will be key in future processes. Let's strive for machine plus human instead of human versus machine. Fergal, let's pick it back up there. You're nodding your head. Agree with Jason?
I do. And a customer of ours, DHL, and I remember this from our Flow conference last year, that was very much the topic of how they think, the subject of how they think about automation.
Love it.
It's this marriage that's required.
Right. It's not either or. Speaking of DHL, they just announced a massive $400 million investment into cold chain. Greg and I met one of their presidents leading that investment just the other day. We'll be releasing that interview soon, but we'll have to dive deeper maybe in a future appearance, Fergal, of y'all's intriguing work with DHL. Speaking of you, Fergal, and the team there, Chuck and the rest of the team, speak, if you would, in a nutshell, just so folks, a little level setting, tell us about what Six River Systems does.
Yep, certainly. And so we're focused on solving our customers' business challenges. And there's three big areas of value and challenges that we solve. So for our customers, we help them, as mentioned, offset their labor shortages. And we do that by providing a solution, Chuck, so Chuck is our autonomous mobile robot. So we provide a solution that makes it easier for our customers to attract, train, and retain associates. Another benefit our customers get is we help them to increase their operational efficiency. So by adding automation onto the warehouse floor, and in particular the way we have approached how we built our robot, where it's a directed workflow. So a directed workflow means the associate on the warehouse floor, that associate follows Chuck, because Chuck knows where to go. Chuck doesn't stop for a break. Chuck moves at a nice brisk walking pace. And then finally, because of the flexibility with how we've built our solution, it helps our customers to boost their resilience and reduce business risk. An example of that being, there are many both 3PLs and retailers in the world today that have multiple warehouses. And so as demand ebbs and flows between buildings, because nothing is bolted to the floor, you can back a truck up, take your robots from building A and move them to building B. And so kind of finally, how this all works, it's we're producing a combination of cloud-based software services and hardware, which includes our AMR Chuck and all of its onboard control software and workflows, to help our customers improve the efficiency of warehouse operations, all alongside working directly with their existing WMS that they already have. Love it.
And I love the fact that Chucks can take field trips, Greg, to other sites and help in the good fight there. Really quick, little departure. Now that Fergal is just kind of level set, make sure everybody understands what Six River Systems does. Rohit, has got a question. So, Greg, a moment ago, you were talking about, the path ahead. Rohit asks a follow-up question to that. And Fergal, I'd love to get you and Greg just to weigh in really quick. Your Reader's Digest response to this. Rohit says, speaking of automation, loading, unloading is the process which is only possible, he says, through people. Do you think automation can take over loading and unloading to containers? Greg, you first.
Unquestionably, at least for some kinds of products. I mean, we need to have some discipline when we load these things. Throwing garbage bags full of stuffed toys into a container is not going to be easy to automate. But if you palletize or package the product and then put it in the container, then certainly you could do that.
And Peter Bollet said, you're talking the same thing here.
Barcoded too. I didn't.
Peter says,
good call, Peter.
Peter says, certainly, if it can all be palletized and barcoded, it can be easily accomplished, he says.
Yeah.
Barcode would have all the
We need more
information.
discipline there, right?
Yeah, agreed.
And, and I think you'd have to do a cost analysis to determine whether the extra effort is worth it.
Excellent point there, Greg. All right, Fergal?
So I agree with Greg that there will be certain scenarios, certain permutations that we will be able to automate. And like we see that already today for both like inbound work and outbound work in a building. And then just to kind of point out, like I think why AMRs are receiving a lot of attention today for picking is that it's actually picking that makes up a vast majority of the costs in a warehouse, where like your inbound and your outbound percentage wise is much less than what we're spending, particularly in warehouses that are doing manual picking.
Excellent point, Fergal. And by the way, I love permutation. What a great word, Fergal. I'm about to look that up in a second. Make sure I'm on the same page with you. Hey, Rohit, great question, Rohit. Keep the questions coming. We can't always get to as many questions based on what we're chatting through here today, but great question. And David, I'm adding what David says here. It's not the beginning of the robot overlords that most naysayers try to turn it into. Excellent point.
That happened a long time ago. So I saw iRobot.
Okay. So, Fergal, we've got some big things coming up here in the Atlanta area. We have what is regarded as the biggest and greatest supply chain trade show in at least the Western Hemisphere. And of course, I'm talking about Modex 2022. That's coming up March 28th through the 31st. Now, Six River, Greg, it's one of our favorite, events like that. Companies like Six River really, they put on the Ritz, right? You get to see that automation and robotics.
That's where we met Chuck originally.
That's true.
In 2020, right?
That is true, Greg. So, Fergal, what do y'all have planned up your sleeves for Modex 2022?
We're so excited to get back to Atlanta. First time for Modex in Atlanta in 2 years. We're going to be showing like the latest and greatest features in our product line. We're going to be introducing some new and exciting pieces of hardware that complement Chuck, that allow our company, our solution, to be able to go and work in areas of the warehouse that we don't work in today. But we're adding capabilities to the solution that allow our customers to get more value from the operation. And so we position what we're doing as a wall-to-wall fulfillment solution. And so visitors to Modex will be able to see this end-to-end demo where it's really like wall-to-wall in the building from replenishment to outbound. And then also we're going to be introducing some floor-to-ceiling capabilities as well. So think about in a building where there may be those picks or tasks that need to take place that are higher than somebody can reach on their own from ground level. And so we've got some exciting stuff to show there. And then we like to have fun as well. We like to have fun. We like attendees to be able to come in and use Chuck. And we've been running, it's been a couple of years since we've run this, but we do a picking challenge. So we have this competition called Pick to Win, where you can come in and you can compete with your colleagues. You could get to compete with everybody else at the event for great prizes. And we're going to have different prizes on offer every day. So if you're in the area, Modex is free to attend. If you're in the area, come on in, come visit us at booth 8832, sign up for Pick to Win. In 30 seconds, you'll be trained on how to use Chuck, and you can be competing against your colleagues or other folks at the show.
Well, so 2 quick questions,
Love it.
Fergal. Are you offering prizes, and is there any drug testing involved of the athletes in the Pick to Win competition?
Excellent question. No, yeah.
So performance
No Adderall or HGH
not allowed.
Yeah.
PEDs are not allowed, Fergal says. So
Right.
let's get that out to the press. But yeah, Modex is free to attend. I see our production team has dropped that into the comments. Greg, you were alluding to their presence last go round a couple years ago. What'd you hear there that would make you turn out and compete?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd like to go head to head with Chuck. I know he would whip me, but I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun to do kind of, as we were talking about, a John Henry type comparison of a human versus Chuck and see how that goes. Also, is it possible that Chuck has some bartending skills or anything like that you could possibly use in a home?
So it's funny.
That's the next release,
one
right,
of the most
Fergal?
frequent questions, we get asked. But Chuck is very happy in the warehouse. That's where Chuck is at home.
Probably shouldn't be serving drinks there.
At least not during the week. Hey, speaking of pleasant environments, Dr. Rhonda drops a great comment here. And really, I love how through this automation conversation, we've kept the workforce front and center throughout. And I think that's really emblematic of what organizations must do. She says, critical to keep a pulse on the employees' needs in the workplace, whatever this environment looks like today. Yes, performance training and tech development is key, as well as knowing what our clients and partners need as things continue to change. Super fun space to work in, never a dull moment or a normal day. Well said there, Dr. Rhonda, and so great to have you here today. All right, so we've dropped, speaking of Modex, we've dropped a link in the comments so that you can learn more about connecting and picking to win, competing against Chuck at Modex. But y'all have got one. Well, hang on a sec. Before we talk about this tour, Chuck, where did this name come from? I'm not sure if I've ever asked.
No, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah.
So Fergal, is there a really cool story behind how y'all named Chuck?
So yeah, there is, and it ties back to the beginning of our conversation, and we were talking about Boston. So it's the Charles River that flows through Boston. And when we were thinking of a name for our company, we wanted there to be an association with Boston. And there was already like a ton of companies that were using Charles River. But we thought, oh, wow, so Chuck as an alternative to Charles, like Chuck, it sounds and feels like something that should be in a warehouse.
Yes.
And so Chuck is from the Charles River.
It also feels very approachable. It's a very approachable name. So I can picture going and grabbing a beer or playing around the golf with someone named Chuck. Greg, huh?
Yeah. Well, my dad's name is Charles, so
he
was a Chaz, but yeah, I mean, I think a nickname is always a good thing and so appropriate. You're right, Fergal, for a warehouse. You can just see him wearing his blue button-down shirt with his name on there.
I love it.
I just think that it's perfect.
And then, our customers, though, then they when they get their robots, they name them themselves. And so as you go around the country, from warehouse to warehouse, in some facilities named after sports teams, sometimes it's named after sports players. Oftentimes we see Disney characters show up, capital cities around the world. Our customers, they get to have some fun as the robots are coming into the building, and oftentimes it's the associates who get to decide what these robots will be named.
Love it. I love that.
So it's kind of like Cabbage Patch Kids. You could name your own Chuck, right?
Yeah. Or Garbage Pail Kids if you're a child of the 80s,
born in this century.
All right. Yeah. So Fergal, as if Modex wasn't enough, and I'm not envious of you and your team, y'all are going to have a very busy month of March. But talk to us about this site visit, which we've got in the comments as well. at Project Vert on March 30th, which is, I think, the middle day of Modex. Tell us about that.
So we have this great customer, Project Vert. They're just outside of downtown Atlanta, and they have generously offered to open up their doors for operators at Modex who are interested in seeing Chuck and our fulfillment solution in action. And to sign up, visit sixriver.com/Modex 2022. We will be providing transportation to the warehouse. We'll bring you back as well.
Very cool.
But in there, you're going to get to hear from the leaders at Project Vert. You're going to be able to see firsthand associates using it, and maybe as well go out and pick real customer orders yourself. So I hope to see as many of you possible there.
I love that. And the link is in the comments, folks, to learn more about that and Modex. And Greg, we've had an opportunity to rub elbows with the folks at Project Vert, dynamic organization on the move. And it's neat to see y'all's collaboration, Fergal. All right. So, Greg, before we make sure folks know how to connect with Fergal, I want to give, while he's still here with us,
yeah, sure,
I want to give you an opportunity to kind of share one of your final thoughts around Chuck and the Six River Systems story.
Well, I think there's nothing to fear here. First of all, it's absolutely necessary, the safety that is instilled, the accountability, and the quality that is uplifted by using this kind of technology is great, and it does. I will contend until the day I die, it does elevate, not eliminate, people's skills and their jobs and their capacity to work. And it allows technology to do technology things and people to do people things in a way that is both productive for the company and very much more satisfying for the individual. So
well said.
I think it's inevitable. Of course, it's inevitable because the changing nature of the workforce, but it's also something to embrace because it's going to elevate all of us.
Well said. Nothing to fear here. I love how you started that. Okay. Fergal, always a pleasure to reconnect with you and your team. Love the, this might sound a little bit cheesy, but I mean it. I love kind of the fun factor, how y'all look for ways to engage that and play that up. It makes, just like Greg said, there's nothing to fear here, but it makes it all much more approachable. So Fergal, how can folks connect with you and the Six River Systems team?
So you can go to our website, also connect with me on LinkedIn, and connect with our company on Twitter.
Wonderful. Or if you're in Boston, you might want to check out Legal Seafood, and you might just see Fergal chowing down with the family. And definitely, if you see him, make sure you get his take on what you should get from the menu. Is that right, Fergal?
That's right. And you can't go wrong with the lobster roll.
Oh, that's the truth. Absolute truth.
You heard it from the expert here. Well, big thanks to our friend Fergal Glenn, Vice President of Marketing with Six River Systems. We'll see you again really soon, Fergal.
Thanks, Fergal.
Thank you.
I love it. There's so much going on that they're involved with. But Greg, you said you always get the t-shirtisms. There's nothing to fear here, folks. You got to lean into automation and lean into the opportunities that it will offer your career and your professional journey, like so many of the folks in the comments said. And I'll take all the pronunciation tips that I can get, Greg. Peter tells me that the vert, hang on a second, let me back up to his first. The TE in vert is silence. So it's ver. You got to roll the R's, which I'm not.
It's like VE with 3 Ds. That's the way I try to think of some of these words in ver, or sometimes it's kind of like that. So yeah, it really depends too on accent.
Yes,
because Peter is in Quebec, so it's pronounced somewhat differently than it is in France, and even areas of France pronounce it differently. Well, we can't pick up on that because to us it's just like Steve Martin said, they got a different word for everything. But if you're there and you listen to it enough, you can actually hear it.
Well, thank you, Peter, for having our back there. Chris says, thanks for the discussion. Hope to run into everybody at Modex. We do too, Chris. Dr. Rhonda, appreciate you contributing today as always.
Yeah.
Love that. Jason has a
Why
great
do I
point.
envision that she's doing this with headphones in and like climbing a mountain, right?
No kidding. That's all I can picture, Dr. Rhonda. Yeah, giving us good tidings from the mountaintop. Jason says, and this goes back to a conversation back and forth, but Jason loves the kind of what Fergal was speaking to. We're automating jobs, but giving the workers that are moving on to other opportunities, educating them, investing in their workforce. Right, the organization wins, they win, the customers win. I mean, everyone wins here.
It's a really excellent point because in a lot of business societies or business cultures, it's a given that that's going to happen, but you can't count on it. And some companies are very short-sighted about things like automation and autonomous, and they have to recognize that people will be elevated lest they be eliminated. And the elevation is much, much more productive to the company, but not everyone sees that early in an automation adoption phase. So
Agreed. Kavan, great to have you here today. Appreciate your commentary throughout these live streams. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Rob,
everybody.
Yeah, appreciate that feedback there. Make sure you connect with Rob Moreland as well. Peter's given some more cuisine input there. I love Peter Bollet.
Sandwich, one of the best foods you'll ever eat.
All right,
stacked this high.
Hey, delicious. Hey, y'all already made me hungry, so I'm hitting lunch right after we wrap here in just a second. But Greg, always a pleasure. I love.
Likewise.
One of the coolest things about this is being able to bring on leaders from highly innovative and cutting edge aspects of industry here today, and love what Six River Systems is doing. So stay tuned as they will join us again in the month of March, which is almost here, believe it or not. All right. So Greg, big thanks to you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, but we got a challenge. We got to challenge all of our listeners, right? We got to challenge our listeners and all the folks in the comments and wherever, if you're listening to the replay, wherever you are, wishing you all the best. But folks, hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And hey, folks in Ukraine, we're with you 100%.
Amen.
Prayers and best wishes to you by the
fight.
Truckload. Fight the good fight. That's right, Greg. And folks, we'll see everybody here next time, right here on Supply Chain Now. Thank you, everybody.